Hello, friends. It's good to be with you, even if I will only be on for about half an hour today. Gosh, I feel naked on my face without my glasses. I have my contacts in because I have a meeting later and I wanted to wear some sunglasses on my drive. So I put my contacts in for the first time in a long time. And anywho, we are here to talk about the Aries full moon happening on October 9th at about 16 degrees Aries. So, wherever you have 16 degrees of Aries in your birth chart, that is the house or the area of life where this energy is most personal or most prevalent within you and your design. For example, my Aries is all inside my 12th house. So this full moon and any of the transits that ever happen in Aries happen in my 12th house where that that connection, like, it has often perplexed me, but for any of you others who might have your Aries in the 12th house, here's what I came up with as far as, like, I feel like that warrior spirit of Aries energy, that cardinal fire, primal life force, Aries energy that we all have somewhere inside of us. I had a hard time finding mine for a really long time. But when you put it in context of the greater good of the all and waging a revolution of love to benefit the highest good of the all. Like, that's where my personal warrior energy comes out, my own primal life force, like my creativity, my like bursts of energy that propel me to do what I want. um that for me, like, I really get those fires stoked when I'm in the domain of my connection to other dimensions, my interconnectedness with all living creatures, all those 12th house kinds of things. So I think Aries energy, it definitely behaves differently inside of all of us. Another place to look, because Aries is ruled by Mars, especially if you don't have any placements in Aries. That's another thing, that I don't have any planets or anything like that located in Aries. So that's okay. Again, you still have Aries energy. And to better understand how yours would function, it would be looking at your Mars sign and where is that? What sign is it in? What house is it in? How does your primal life force energy show itself and where? And my Mars is in Pisces in the 12th house. So, same as my Aries energy, it really only gets super stoked, like super excited and ready to like fight on behalf of what I believe in if I'm talking about the greater good of the all, like the highest good of all things, the interconnectedness of all living beings. So no matter what form your Aries energy looks like, it shows you a very primal need within yourself. Like, there's a very primal appetite of what Aries energy specifically is hungry for. Um, Aries, I think, is where we project ourselves out into the world. We use that burst of courage. Courage is often associated with Aries energy. Kind of fire energy in general tends to be pretty courageous. Courageous, stupid. I don't mean stupid in a mean way. I mean like literally not taking the time to contemplate the consequences or the pros and the cons. Like Aries, yes, they're courageous, but a lot of it is like they just skip the contemplation part. Aries energy is very primal, meaning you feel it in your body and it causes you to act. Like adrenaline is primal. Like when you have adrenaline pumping through your system because you're scared or you feel like you're in the presence of danger, it's like that puts your body on high alert. Your body's like ready for fight or flight. Aries energy is kind of the same way. It's a burst of that energy into your body that then what do you do with it? And again, that kind of depends on which house it's in for you, like where you're likely to either find it within yourself or find it in another person. Like, for example, I was listening to the astrology podcast where they go through like all 12 of the signs or whatever. Um, and they were talking about Aries and they were talking about this Libra rising person with Venus and Libra right on the rising sign. So that makes Aries the descendant, the descendant, aka the beginning of your seventh house. So that means that you're like pulling people like that to you. So if you're a Libra rising, then like you're most likely going to be in partnership with people who are more Aryan. And that by being in partnership with their Aries energy, you're able to better find it inside of yourself. So yeah, everybody kind of comes to all 12 of the zodiac archetypes in their own way, depending on how we have each of them situated. Those are just a couple of examples because I know I guess I know personally several people who have a hard time finding Aries energy inside of themselves. And I wonder how many of you guys might feel like that. And I wonder if I attract you um, because I can't like sometimes find my own. And there's something else I wanna say about Aries energy, and that is that it's cardinal fire. Okay, so Aries energy is the first zodiac. It's like the what do you astrological new year, I think is what they call it, where the spring equinox, when the sun passes into Aries, like that is kind of the beginning of this like 12-month cycle. And cardinal energy, the cardinal signs are Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn, and they like to start things. They, as cardinal signs, they start their respective seasons. So, like Aries starts spring, Cancer starts summer, Libra starts fall, Capricorn starts winter, and they start things. They have a force of nature behind them that says like, I want to create something in the world that did not already exist. And so these four signs, that's what they're all about. And Aries wants to create whatever that primal urge that's coming through you is. And sometimes that is creating life, like actually parenting children, or like, I think a lot of, especially serial entrepreneurs where they love to start businesses, they love to acquire new businesses, they love to start new ventures. Like, I have one in my mind that has a few pretty significant placements in Aries, who's a serial entrepreneur where the beginnings of things are the best part. And so, yeah, that's like the fun part of that little burst of Aries energy. And that cardinal, like, how do you start a fire? Like, because once you get to Leo, you're refining the fire. And then once you get to Sagittarius, same thing, you're refining the fire. So like Aries though, it's a it's a beginning. So how do you get fire if you don't have fire? And it's like, how do you actually build a fire in the wild? You have to rub two sticks together or like a striking thing where you can get a spark. And with that spark, something can take hold, something can catch on. And that's really what I'm expecting as far as like this Aries full moon is, coming off of the Libra new moon that we just had on September, what was it, like 28th, 25th? You guys know. Very recently, we had this Libra new moon where we had a new intention bloom inside of us. I know I sure did, where maybe not even new intention. That's like sounds so fancy. What it was like just a contemplation, questions, curiosity, like arising to the surface of considering relationships. And not like there's any kind of due date or any kind of like specific outcome I'm trying to achieve, but just like, what does it mean to me and what do I want out of relationships? And I love people. I love humans in general. Um, and yet I form close relationships with very few people. And so what specifically makes my relationships work and where does the magic come from in those relationships? And so that was the Libra new moon of like considering us and others, like the relationship between us and other people, what do we put out? What do we want them to put out? Why are we engaging in this relationship? What are we wanting to achieve with it? And that could be any kind of relationship, honestly, romantic, friendship, business, whatever kind of relationship you're wanting to engage in. And it's asking, again, not for a specific outcome or that you make some fancy decision, but just considering those things for yourself of like, what is it that you're looking for? Um, and so 2 weeks later, we have this Aries full moon on October 9th. And the new moon and the full moon, they're always connected. Like I always read them like this, where the first thing we get is the Libra new moon and that new seed, that new glimpse. And then the Aries full moon is going to come around and it's going to highlight kind of like where I am right now. The new moon is launching a rocket or like planting a seed that like ultimately comes to fruition 6 months later on the Libra full moon. So that is a long game. That's like a longer unfolding. But in order to like do that longer unfolding right after the new moon seed gets planted, we get a full moon where we can really like light up the landscape and see what we're working with. Because when we look at Aries, Aries is as self focused as you can possibly be, like primal life force. Again, there's like no time to contemplate the do's and the don'ts and is this like acceptable? Am I following the rules? Like Aries energy doesn't have time for that. It's an urge that by the time it's moving through you, it's already propelling you into action, into motion. Feel the thing, do the thing. Feel the thing, say the thing. Depends on, what placement you got there. But that's like in direct conflict. All sister signs are always, so like don't be alarmed, but like in direct conflict with what are your relationship goals? what what matters to you about your relationships and what do you want to invest into those relationships? What are you hoping for them to invest? What communication is happening so that you're on the same page that, here's what I'm doing, here's what you're doing, like what is important to you about relationships, and then 2 weeks later we get this like illumination of who are you and what are the choices that you're making right now. Like how do you take action in the world? Mars is very much related to how we go about getting what we want, how we enact our masculine will out in the world, which is to say to be assertive, to go out and claim, to stake our claim in the world and say this is mine, this is what I'm doing, I'm here for this job interview, I deserve this job. Like there's a very masculine forward momentum to Aries and Mars that, like, how do you do that? Because again, is it in balance with these ideas that you have about the kinds of relationships that you want to have? We are always half of the relationship that we are having. And so there is no right or wrong, but I would imagine that we're going to see a couple of different things maybe. Some of the intentions or some of the contemplations, the ideas and refinements of ideas that we had about relationships over the Libra new moon, maybe some of that we realize areas where we want to grow in terms of like when we have our Aries full moon and we can see ourselves more clearly, like apart from everything else. Like Aries is very self oriented. So we see ourselves more clearly and we see, like, okay, so am I being half of the relationship that I want? Or are there areas where I want to practice checking in? I want to practice having conversations before I make decisions. Like if there are certain things, certain domains where we should be more, interactive in our relationship. So like balancing this self direction that Aries is so capable of with what are your goals with relationships? Because when you think about why are we here, relationships are kind of at the heart, I think, of what we came here for, as far as the connections that we build with other people and what that allows for everybody involved and everybody that those people will ever meet. Like the ripple effects of relationships are, I think, why we're here. And so if you're not getting the relationship outcomes that you want, one outcome of the Aries full moon is that you might see some places inside of yourself where you could grow, or you want to evolve, or you see a pattern within yourself that I can see why me choosing that thing over and over is preventing this relationship pattern that I want, where they would be at odds with each other. So, like, seeing some of that. Some of the other things could be that, when we're on the Libra side of the spectrum, we mostly want harmony with other people. And when we want harmony with other people, we can really come apart from our true nature in order to create that harmony. And so the other side of it could be that once you get to the Aries full moon side, you realize, like, wait, what did I say I wanted? Like, I said, what? Like, that was 100% for the harmony with the other person, and it wasn't in alignment with your true nature, and the Aries full moon is gonna highlight what is your true nature. You can't help it. It is what it is. And if your true nature is truly in conflict with, like, the relationship goals and patterns that you want to achieve in your life, it's kind of a moment of, hopefully, self-acceptance, as far as sinking a little bit more deeply into the truth of our identity. I see, like, this Aries full moon almost as like a burst of knowing our true identity, which, like, the look on my face is a little bit scared, because I think part of me is like, do I want to know that? Like, if I don't know it already, like, is there a reason I've been keeping myself in the dark? Like, probably. It's called conditioning, social conditioning. Most of us are trying so hard to be good, we don't even know who we freaking are. And this Aries full moon, I think, is going to be like a bit of an illumination of our true identity. And what are we working with? Like, what are the pieces that are really you? And then we can look out at, like, okay, so based on this being the foundation of who I really am, what are the right relationships for me, or what are the right patterns, or the right choices, or the right, like, what works for me based on who I truly am. And I think there's a reason that, like, Aries energy is first, right? Like, before we can get 7 signs into Libra where we're making relationships with other people, there's so much groundwork to who are we, and what do we want, and what is right for us. And that's, like, one of those things that, if you follow Byron Katie's work, she says a lot that, like, if you're someone who is not living your truth, if you're, projecting a personality that you think is likable, then you put that out into the world, and people maybe like your likable personality or maybe not, but it's not you. And then you have a relationship with this person that maybe doesn't end up working out. And if you're not being your true self, you're forming relationships with people who don't match your true self. They match the projected personality that you're trying to live up to at that time. And I know, especially, like, as somebody who feels like I've tried to figure out my identity my whole life, like, I've felt like I don't know who I am. And I've tried to be a lot of different things. And so often I've grown out of relationships. And I think that that is part of what a relationship is ultimately for, at least in my world, it seems, is, like, to really let you see, what are you trying to live up to that's not in alignment with your truth. And as hard as that can be to realize sometimes, um, it's like that's that pair of sister signs. It's like, do you want harmony in the outside world with other people, or do you want harmony within yourself? And the ideal answer is obviously, hopefully, both. Hopefully you could achieve both. For me, I have to go balance and harmony inside of myself first and foremost. And once I'm there, then I can harmonize with the people who are truly meant to be in my life. The people who resonate with my true and balanced self. Those are the people that I want to invest in. I want to give them my time and attention, and spend time loving them, growing them, nurturing them, I wanna put myself all in those relationships. But before, I felt like so much of what I was doing was trying to be good and trying to, like, find a path that would be safe or secure for myself, and I would, you know, get into situations, relationships, like my engagement is a perfect example where, like, oh my gosh, like, yeah, here's somebody who can stand to be around me for more than a minute, and I might as well marry them and, like, get engaged and cancel it, and so that relationship, though, was super helpful because it helped me see, like, I don't just want somebody who can stand to be around me, I want somebody who loves me, and I didn't know that yet, right? Like, I hadn't refined to that point, and that's why I was in a relationship where the person did not love me, they could tolerate me, and that was, like, I was excited about that, where I was going into it, I was like, "Yay, this is great, this is better," and after 2.5 years of it, I'm like, "This sucks. This blows. I definitely deserve better than this," and I didn't know that. He taught me. He taught me, and I appreciate that, and so I do think that relationships are there to help us refine and understand, like, who are we really? What do we actually want? Why did we come here? Why did we bother manifesting a human vessel for ourselves to get to ride around in? We had a reason, I believe. I think Aries is that energy inside of ourselves that knows the answer about why you came, that has the secret as far as like, here's the life force that drove you forward into this reality. And what I want to say there is mostly to myself, careful thinking that you know what that is. That like That, like, there's some big grand reason as far as, like, you're here to save the world, you're here to, like, save humanity or save the planet or, like, whatever. I don't think any of us came for that so much as, like, and again, I'm mostly talking to myself, that Aries energy especially, like, we came to be ourselves. We came to embrace whatever our authentic self looks like. And to not to, like, do the Aries thing where you skip the step of contemplating right or wrong, where you skip the step of thinking, like, "Is this acceptable? Am I breaking the rules?" Like, skip that step and go straight to, "Who are you? Who are you?" Forget about the rules, forget about, like, everything everybody ever taught you about what's right and what's wrong, and who are you? And I think that living that, embracing that is about the most courageous thing a person could ever do, and in my world, for me, embracing my authentic self and being who I am in any moment and practicing self-acceptance over self-judgment, like, that is why I'm here. I That's, like, the whole thing. That's the whole reason, is just to have the guts to be whatever I am in whatever moment and to not beat up on myself for it. And that I was having a moment this morning where like I practice something called I call psychic hygiene, where essentially you're doing energy management, paying attention to how you feel and guiding yourself through activities on purpose to help yourself feel how you want to feel. Good, usually trying to help yourself feel good. And this morning, I noticed that I'm kinda cranky. There's kind of like an edge in my energy that is normally not there. And so my first thought was psychic hygiene. How do I like, okay, what could I do? How much time do I have? Like, and sitting in that was like stressful. Like, it was like all the stress that had kind of been under the surface and then the stress of like, "Oh my gosh, I have to, like, raise my vibration, I have to feel better before I, like, go to this meeting I'm going to this afternoon." And it like, the stress of having to feel better, like, putting that pressure on myself, it was too much, and, like, something cracked and something opened where acceptance came out that said, "If I'm a little edgy in this moment, how do you know that's not exactly where you're supposed to be? How do you know that that's not the exact energy that this meeting this afternoon needs from you? Like, what if that is the best possible energy you could ever bring to the table for this meeting for the highest good of the all?" What you're always going on and on about. Like, how do you know? How do you know? You're supposed to be all bright and shiny and fluffy unicorns. Like, this edge in my energy, it's gonna make me a whole lot more honest, I think. Like, I tend to lose patience, I tend to lose the ability to filter myself when I feel like this, kinda edgy, and so they're just gonna get a more authentic version of me. It'll be a clearer picture of what Carly thinks, and good, good. I'm not the decision maker, I'm just there to be present and to guide the process, like, be a facilitator, essentially, and maybe this is the right energy for the job. And so that was, like, mind blowing because in all of the psychic hygiene practice that I've done of, like, trying to raise my vibration, I realized, like, even that has some of that, like, Libra side of, like, trying to be good, trying to be nice, trying to create harmony with other people, trying to put energy into the world that you think is likable. Those are very Libran qualities, and there's nothing right or wrong about any of it. It all has its time and it all has its place, but what I saw at the cracking, the opening was like, what if that wasn't gonna help? What if what this meeting needs is somebody to just, like, chop through the bullshit and say what's true and move us along because we have a lot to cover in a very short amount of time. So maybe the fluff and the niceties and the harmonizing with them, like, maybe it's just not necessary and was only gonna detract from the overall purpose of what we're there to do. So, trusting that, like, no matter what comes forward, even if you think it doesn't look how you should look, like, I wanna be in a better mood for this meeting. You like, that like, wanting yourself to be different, that moment of, like, I want myself to change. I want my vibration to raise. I wanna be here, and I'm only here. Like, that moment is a slap in the face to your Aries energy. Your Aries energy says, "I'm here, and I'm perfect exactly the way I am." And hopefully, there is a healthy dose of that kind of self-acceptance that says, like, no matter what your true nature, that primal life force is wanting you to do in your world, it's good, it's it's right, and I'm having pictures flash in my head of, like, what are you co-signing right now? Like, who knows what people actually wanna do inside their minds, like, you gotta trust it. Like, you self-trust, like, trusting that the urge of your soul moving your vessel, like, that's right. Like, that, I feel like, has to be there. Otherwise, like, you got nothing to work with on the whole rest of the journey around the zodiac. Like, being connected to your own self and that self is good, that self, like, deserves to be here and deserves to take up space, like, these things I'm hoping are what are present when this Aries full moon, like, lights up the landscape of, like, what is going on in this context of you and others, harmony within yourself and harmony with other people. Um, yeah. Holy moly, I hit it on the nose. I was gonna stay on for 30 minutes, and it's 10:29, but I am gonna stay on for 5 more minutes and read the chat because you guys have been talking to me, and I love that. Oh, hello, Uta. Hello, Andrea. Hello, Myra. All my best friends are here. Oh my gosh. Janine, hello. Oh, good morning. Oh my gosh, Andrea, yes, I was thinking of you when I relayed that Libra rising story. Because I'll bet with all those planets on your Libra rising, like that Aries self-centeredness, like the all me, no other, like, do you attract people like that? I just think, like, with all that on your rising, like, because that was the story that they were telling, was like that Venus in Libra right on the rising, this person, like, just Aries energy just made their skin crawl, like, just, like, couldn't stand people like that. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I could totally see that." Like, with my Scorpio, especially earlier in life, people all up in their emotions, I'm like, "Get them away from me." That was, yeah, kind of an allergic reaction to whatever signs on your descendant. Yes, that, like, self and others, harmony within yourself, harmony with others, like, it is a delicate balancing act to have them both, but I do think that you have a really solid chance of having both if you start with harmony within yourself and go from there. Because the people who, like, really resonate with you, like, the people who are, like, a match with your authentic self, there's, like, a natural harmony there. I think I've found in relationships in these, like, past few years, like, as I've gotten more and more into kind of, like, leading with my authentic self, being myself, and trusting that if other people don't resonate, then they're just not my people, and there's somebody else that they're meant to spend their time with. Um, yeah, I think that it is possible to have both, to, like, have relationship harmony and, personal harmony, like, inside of yourself. Yeah. Oh, Myra, that's so cool. Oh, and Uta, so without a birth time, that's where we wouldn't really know, like, where, like, what house your Aries is. Um, and really, like, that's only an added layer that can potentially, like, give us more insight. It's really not necessary, I think, to, like, connect to the overall picture. Like, it's only to, yeah, to help spot if it is a more unconscious energy or if it is more conscious, meaning, like, there are certain places where you could have it in the chart where, like, if you were a Libra rising, where you have Aries on the descendant, you're more going to attract that energy and see it in other people versus seeing it in yourself. Not that you don't possess it, it's just like it's hidden from you, kind of the descendant being kind of a blind spot. So without the exact birth time wouldn't be super helpful to try to figure out what house your Aries is in, but I think there's still so much meat on the bone to chew with just Aries in general, as far as, like, who are you and what does balance inside of yourself look like? Like, what are the things that you want? The things that you've wanted over and over and over and over for a long time, that's a good place to start. Those kinds of soul level desires that seem to haunt us, they don't go away. Like, that's Aries trying to bloom in your life. And the thing is that I find so amazing is, like, Aries sounds like it's a loner. It's like a all you, and you're going to be like have harmony inside yourself, and then you're all by yourself. Like, it truly does take you on a journey. It's like a journey where then you can meet your people. So, like, your Aries energy will take you on a journey through the world where you are fulfilling yourself, but on that journey, you're gonna meet other people. So, like, let's say you've always wanted to, like, be a writer or something like that, and so you decide, "I'm gonna take a writing workshop," and you go find a writing workshop, and the person who sits next to you, maybe that's your next friendship, your next relationship, your business partner, like, who the hell knows? But that's how Aries energy works, so it's really not as isolated as it sounds, and I think, like, it's a great way to meet people is to figure out who are you and then go do that thing. And then, like, the person sitting next to you in the writer's workshop, you guys have a lot in common. Maybe not everything, but definitely some common ground to start from. So that Aries energy of, like, pushing yourself out into the world, I mean, it's a great way to meet other people who have a really good shot of resonating with your authentic self. Yeah. So this was super short. I hope it was helpful. I rambled for, 35 minutes, and I feel really good about this. Aries energy is one where, like I said, I've definitely had to hunt for it in my life, and it hasn't always come naturally to me, but that didn't stop me from continuing to want to find it. And some transits that we've had, like the full moon in Aries, is definitely a helpful time to connect with it. We have like Jupiter is going to go back into Pisces and then we'll come back into Aries at the very end of the year. And like feeling into those kinds of changes where you can almost, like, feel the ripple of that push of energy, like, in your own system to try to find, like, where is my Aries energy and what does it want from me? What does it even want? How do I feed this thing? So yes, I really appreciate you being here with me and spending the time, whether you're here live or catching the replay, either one. Thank you so much. I wish you the best for this upcoming full moon in Aries. And until next time, I hope you take such good care of yourselves. And so will I. Okay. Okay. Bye. Have a good day. Okay. Bye.